Good morning, everyone. My name is Elliot Payne. I'm the president of Minneapolis City Council. And before we convene our meeting, we have presentations of honorary resolutions. We are pleased to welcome guests to this space to share in these presentations before taking up our agenda. First up is a resolution recognizing High School Voter Registration Week, presented by Councilmember Ellison.
All right, gather around. It's always a good day in Minneapolis when we get to talk about voting. And so I'm joined here with the Voter and Election Services team, so thank you guys for being here. And I hope one of you guys will be willing to speak on the good work of your team. I'm going to read the resolution. And this is recognizing High School Voter Registration Week. Whereas the right to vote is a fundamental component of our democracy, allowing eligible residents the opportunity to express their voice in our governance and society. And whereas in the 2020 U.S. Census, there were over 26,000 individuals in the 15 to 19-year age range within Minneapolis, nearing age requirements to vote. Nearing or meeting age requirements to vote. And whereas the state of Minnesota has recently adopted new changes that expanded voter registration opportunities, including the ability for 16 and 17-year-olds to pre-register to vote. And whereas educating and empowering high school students to register or pre-register to vote fosters a culture of civic responsibility, strengthening our democracy for generations. And whereas the city of Minneapolis historically records a high voter turnout rate, having worked to maintain and improve the conditions in which voters have access to the ballot. And whereas the city of Minneapolis is committed to improving awareness and sharing information about registration and pre-registration opportunities for high school-aged individuals. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council do hereby recognize the week of April 28th, 2025 through May 3rd, 2025 as High School Voter Registration Week in the city of Minneapolis. All right, and so anyone looking to speak?
Thank you, Council Member. My name is Katie Smith. I'm the Director of Elections and Voter Services here at the City of Minneapolis. I'm joined with the Deputy Director, John Martin, of our office. Together, we are thankful and want to express our thanks to the full council and our elected officials for their ongoing and continued support. We couldn't do what we do without them. We're grateful today to be joined by a representative from the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters is very active within our community. They do over 50 registration drives each year annually out within our community. They also have helped coordinate High School Student Voter Registration Week, and this will be the second year for that program, and we're really excited for it. I'm also joined and thankful that a lot of our staff members are here. We've got representatives from early voting, vote by mail. We've got members of our voter outreach team, our training team, and then notably our coordinator who does our student election judge program. And just lastly, I would say we're talking a lot about high school voter registration. I'm really excited to announce that yesterday we were informed that we actually won an award from the Election Assistance Commission, the EAC, and that's for our training program for our youth who translate within our polling places. So just a huge thank you and for all of the support.
Did anyone else want to say a word?
Mr. Councilmember, if I can, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize Karen Scheel, and I appreciate that the director did. But Karen Scheel, we are required to refer to her program as the National Award-winning Student Election Judge Program. That's a result of her leadership in both building, developing, sustaining, and growing that. The city of Minneapolis, under Karen's leadership, has been so successful at recruiting election judges. Not only are we winning more awards, but we have such a large core of student judges, we are also occasionally able to loan them out to neighboring jurisdictions. So we are expanding even and beyond our jurisdictions in helping students get placed. And she spent many years, as I said, developing this program and has become a partner to our schools, where she has integrated herself to talk about civics and the importance of elections and really building that sense of civic pride and duty in our youth today. So really want to also highlight Karen's leadership in this regard. It's been instrumental in the ability of elections and voter services to bring in the next generation of future voters.
I'm going to close out. Just wanted to highlight one more thing just about our wonderful team here at the city. You know, in my first year, I was the chair of the Elections and Rules Committee back when we had an Elections and Rules Committee before it all got folded into, I believe, AO now. Oh, it's in COW now. And, you know, I think that was really important work, and I think it set the groundwork for us being a place, not just in the state of Minnesota, but all across the country, where people know their rights, and people, every single year, more and more people are opting to step into that booth. And, you know, what does it mean to step into that booth, right? We're not just talking about voting for voting's sake, right? There's so many things that your vote represents, and when somebody feels compelled to go vote, they also feel compelled to do so much more in their community, right? And so voting's not the total, it's not the end of the line, it's not the beginning of the line. There are so many things people do for their community before they, you know, go and step in that booth. There's so many things that they are willing to do after, once they've had that opportunity. And so I just want to thank our amazing team for making sure that young people know what their rights are, that everybody across the city of Minneapolis knows what their rights are. And we're going to continue to be a hub, whether voting rights nationally are under threat or not. We're going to continue to be a hub where people, and hold that line, where people know that they can come into Minneapolis and vote, and be a model for other cities for how to protect people's right to vote. So thank you all.
Next up, we will welcome up guests along with Councilmember Vita and Palmisano for Administrative Professionals Day.
Good morning, everybody. We're here to recognize Administrative Professionals Day here in the city of Minneapolis. Oh no, I'm not contagious. Come on, you got to come close. Councilmember Vita and I were asked to help with this resolution, and we are happy to. Our administrative professionals in our city is what helps us to get important conversations together, sometimes at a moment's notice. Their work is often so incredibly crucial, but maybe not brought into the light often enough. So this is helping all of you who help us get all of these conversations together, whether in routine fashion or in crisis fashion, every day in our city. So we are here to recognize Administrative Professionals Day in the city of Minneapolis. Whereas administrative professionals, including secretaries, administrative assistants, office managers, and other administrative support staff, represent one of the largest segments of the world's workforce. And whereas administrative professionals are vital contributors in today's team-oriented work environment and are key frontline public relation ambassadors for their organizations. Whereas the City of Minneapolis recognizes the invaluable contributions of administrative professionals who play a key role in ensuring the efficient operation of our government, businesses, and communities. And whereas administrative professionals in Minneapolis demonstrate dedication, skill, and excellence every day in their support of leaders, staff, and the public, often going above and beyond to ensure smooth operations in all areas of city life. And
whereas the work of administrative professionals enhances communication, organization, and productivity across various sectors, including government, healthcare, education, and business, making Minneapolis a better place to live, work, and thrive. And whereas Administrative Professionals Day offers a special opportunity to recognize and appreciate the vital work that administrative professionals do to support the City of Minneapolis and its residents. And whereas the City of Minneapolis is committed to fostering an environment of respect, appreciation, and recognition for the contributions of all employees, including those in administrative support roles. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council do hereby recognize April 18th as Administrative Professionals Day in the City of Minneapolis and honor the dedication and exceptional service of all administrative professionals in Minneapolis who are in the integral part of our continued success and growth. Thank you all.
Thank you, Councilmember Vita and Councilmember Palmisano. Today we may take a moment to shine a light on a group of professionals who often work behind the scenes, yet play a critical role in our daily success of the city and our administrative professionals. Our administrative professionals are the backbone, and I'm going to say that again, the backbone of city operations. They are the first voices heard, the calendars managed, crazy calendars managed, the communications coordinated, and the details mastered, often without recognition and always with quiet excellence. On behalf of our city leadership, I want to express our deepest gratitude, I'm shaking, the individual's consistency to go above and beyond every day, every hour, and every minute, and sometimes into your private times at night. So thank you. You go above and beyond ensuring our department heads, our administrative executives, and elected officials and city teams can operate at a very, very high level. You do this with precision, professionalism, and a very, very deep commitment to public service. So today, and every day, we thank you, but today we will do it publicly because you are amazing. And we can't do this work without you. So thank you very much. Yes? Okay. Photo. Grab it. Tanya, you want to hold?
who's officially accepting the...
Okay, we got to kind of move in between these.
Next, we will welcome up Councilmember Jenkins to recognize Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Thank you. Wow, been talking for a long time. Maybe I should start over. My name is Andrea Jenkins. I'm the council member for Ward 8. And I want to make sure everyone hears this because this is really important. We're recognizing April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the city of Minneapolis. Whereas, formally acknowledging April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Minneapolis each year is a necessary step towards centering and honoring victims, survivors in our community. And whereas, we must face the truth that sexual violence occurs in this city, and at its core, sexual violence is indisputably about power and control. And whereas sexual violence has been used as a tool of war, state violence, colonialism, white supremacy, anti-blackness, patriarchy, transphobia, and misogyny, and as a result, Minneapolis's Black, Indigenous, queer, disabled, and youth communities are victimized at high rates. And whereas victims, survivors face an uphill battle after experiencing sexual violence, and being believed is the first step, but many victim survivors also seek medical care, housing, financial resources, justice, and emotional support. And whereas out of every 1,000 sexual assaults, 975 perpetrators walk free, and only 310 of every 1,000 assaults are reported. And whereas discrimination against citizenship status, cultural norms, class, race, age, ability, gender, and sexuality can be a barrier to healing. And whereas discrimination against citizenship status, cultural norms, class, race, age, ability, gender, and sexuality can be a barrier to healing. And whereas the impact of sexual violence extends beyond the immediate victims' families to communities and society as a whole. And whereas every member of our community deserves a healthy and nourishing environment in which sexual violence does not thrive, and every member of our community is thereby responsible for championing consent, bodily autonomy, accountability, and anti-racism. And whereas a growing number of community members are calling for change, and we must imagine a new version of our city in which reports of sexual violence are treated with urgency and consideration. Advocacy organizations are given sufficient resources, and the various needs of victim survivors are consistently met. And whereas victim survivors deserve access to accountability mechanisms outside of the criminal legal system, and whereas we have a long way to go, but transformation is possible, and whereas the City Council is dedicated to collaborating with local organizations, agencies, and advocates to combat sexual violence, enhance victim services, and cultivate a safer community for all. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council do hereby recognize April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the city of Minneapolis, and that the City Council will demonstrate its solidarity with victim survivors by participating in Denim Day, which is April 30th, 2025, the longest running sexual violence prevention and education campaign highlighting the misconceptions surrounding sexual violence, and encourages all residents to engage in activities and events designed to raise awareness about sexual assault, advance prevention efforts, and support survivors. Thank you. And, you know, I was watching the news last night, and there was this horrific incident of a young lady in a hotel bathroom who had been sexually assaulted by one of the employees filming her while she was using the restroom. And so sexual assault happens in the city of Minneapolis. It happens in many, many forms, and we must be addressing it at every level. These are a number of folks in our community who are helping victim survivors, and I just want to offer an opportunity for some to speak if folks are interested or prepared. And Chanu, would you start us off?
Thank you, Councilmember Jenkins and the council and the mayor. I'll just quickly pass the microphone to Ashley from Sexual Violence Center, who's the primary providers here in Minneapolis.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Councilmember Jenkins. My name is Ashley Taylor Gouget, and I'm the Interim Executive Director at the Sexual Violence Center. We provide free services to people who have experienced sexual violence. This is through hospital response, 24-hour crisis line, free peer-based counseling, legal support, police reports, all of that kind of stuff. This is a very scary time for survivors and for people like us doing this work, our field as a whole, people supporting survivors. And it means a lot to have the continued support of the city and the city council in not only making resolutions like this, they do mean a lot, but also just acknowledging that this still occurs, it still exists, and it's not sweeping it under the rug. So thank you so much.
Are there others prepared to speak?
Hello. Pilamaya, thank you for having me, and thank you for the City of Minneapolis for passing a resolution acknowledging April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Mia Tawachia Washdewi, that is Lakota for Hergum Plume woman. I grew up on the Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota. I'm enrolled in Montana, the Fort Belknap tribe, and I've been living in Minneapolis since 2001, or 2010, or 21, sorry. It's been a long time since I've been working with a coalition. I worked in a coalition in South Dakota, and I work here with Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition, also known as MUSAC. For nearly 25 years, MUSAC has worked to end sexual violence and enhance tribal, state, and federal responses to sexual violence. As many of us here know, sexual violence is a widespread and serious crime in the United States and is often unreported in its prevalence. There are also limited resources, direct service providers, and organizations that serve victims of sexual violence, particularly in Indian country. In the state of Minnesota, Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people are disproportionately likely to experience violence, be murdered, or go missing compared to other demographic groups. It is because of these trends of disproportionate violence that our communities face that we work every day to end sexual violence. I'm proud to walk in the footsteps of the advocates before me and proud to stand alongside all of you today who are working to end sexual violence in the state of Minnesota and nationwide. We have fought for generations to end sexual violence, and we will continue to fight because everyone deserves to be safe. And thank you for the Minneapolis Council.
My name is Jude Foster, and I'm the Director of Community Services at Cornerstone. Cornerstone is a multi-service agency. What I mean by that is that we provide sexual and domestic violence services, general crime, and human trafficking / sexual exploitation services. I've been an advocate for 32 years. 31 of those years, I was exclusively a sexual assault advocate. And I just really want to echo what Ashley said. This is an incredibly scary and disheartening time for victim survivors. We're dealing with things like respondents that are showing up in court have been picked up by ICE. We're very concerned about trans and gender nonconforming young people that we work with in our schools. This isn't just about funding. This is about the ability to keep our services open, to keep our services accessible to the community. And I want to echo what Ashley said. This means a lot. This really means a lot that there is some acknowledgement. So thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ashley Stewart-Griffith, and I am here representing the Minnesota Coalition Against Sexual Assault. I want to thank you all for being here, and thank you for this declaration. It does mean so much. My colleagues and community members have said so many important things, but I'll just add that the Minnesota Coalition, we are the collective voice. We're a coalition of over 60 rape crisis centers across the state, including those who are serving your community in Minneapolis. These advocates are working tirelessly, responding 24 hours a day to victim survivors in their community, whether it's at a hospital or in a support group, or helping someone navigate the criminal legal system. They are doing this work, and of course, this is a very uncertain, unpredictable time for many of them. And so, again, want to thank you all for being here, and I want to thank the incredible advocates across the state and in Minneapolis who are doing this important work.
Anyone else want to speak? Well, I do want to just take a moment and acknowledge my policy aide, Christina Mitchell, who has been working really hard to put this together, but also has been working on advocating for sexual violence survivors for many, many years, including prior to moving to Minneapolis and in Los Angeles. So just wanted to take a moment to recognize that work. Thank you, Christina. And thank all of you for all of the work that you do each and every day to help victim survivors get through these traumatic events. And with that, I think we'll take a photo, and I'm going to need you guys to bring it in to these black lines here.
Finally, we will welcome up Councilmember Osman and guests to recognize drowning risks and safety barriers for children on the autism spectrum.
Good morning. My name is Jamal Osman. I'm the council member of Ward 6. I'm honored to be here with wonderful people. Today we are here to recognize and really make awareness of the horrific tragedies that continue to happen in Minnesota. And this is a policy resolution that I will be reading. Enhancing culturally responsive water safety and drowning prevention for autistic children. Whereas autistic spectrum disorder is a developmental condition that affects how individuals communicate, interact, and process sensory information, with each person on the spectrum exhibiting diverse strengths, challenges, and support needs. And whereas children on the spectrum, autism spectrum, face significantly increased risk of drowning due to development, wandering behaviors, limited access to water safety education, and heightening sensory sensitivity, making drowning the leading cause of accidental deaths among autistic children. And whereas national data shows that children with autism are 160 times more likely to die from drowning than their neurotypical peers, and nearly half, 49%, attempt to elope from safe environments, 4 times the rate of their non-autistic sibling. And whereas in 2024 alone, 74 children on the autism spectrum drowned, revealing preventable and heartbreaking crisis that demands immediate public safety interventions. And whereas in Minnesota, these tragedies are not statics, they include the devastating losses of 4-year-old Wa'is Ali Muhammad, who drowned in Minnehaha Creek, and 11-year-old Muhammad found in a pond near his Eden Prairie home. Their deaths reflect systematic gaps in water safety educations, protective infrastructure, and cultural responsive outreach. And whereas immigrant BIPOC families, particularly those from East African communities, face a compound risk due to cultural stigma, language access barrier, financial hardship, and lack of inclusive and cultural affirming services. And whereas Mangar Voices, a Minnesota-based autism advocacy organization, has led this transformative work by uplifting community narratives, pushing for a systematic change, and co-developing this resolution with Councilmember Jamal Osman and Minneapolis Mayor's Office to ensure that cultural ground and community-informed solutions are prioritized at the state and the city level. And whereas the care and protection of autistic individuals demand on collective effort, a support village made up of special education teachers, paraprofessionals, speech therapists, occupational therapists, EIDPI providers, social workers, county staff, parents, siblings, aunties, uncles, grandparents, and community members from all backgrounds who help to ensure our children thrive. And whereas programs such as Minnesota Early Intensive Developmental and Behavioral Intervention, special education services in schools, and public health resources offer vital support to autistic children and adults, but this system is required expansion, training, cultural responsiveness to meet diverse families and needs. And whereas approving strategies to reduce drowning and safety risk include the development of inclusive swimming programs, increased public education and awareness, financial support for safety modification, and strong housing protection for families of children with disabilities. And whereas creating a safe, inclusive environment for autistic individuals also require ongoing investment in our community, in community-led initiatives, transparent, evaluation and responsive adoption based on feedback from those impacted. Now, therefore, be resolved. The City of Minneapolis recognizes the urgent need to prevent drowning deaths among autistic children who face increased risk due to systematic barriers and limited access for safety resources. We commit to expanding equitable, cultural responsive water safety education and affordable swimming lessons and support services. We urge the state of Minnesota to take a coordinated action by prioritizing inclusive safety education, strengthening disability rights and housing protections, and expanding autism-related programs like EIDPI. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. As you can see, these are the families, the moms, the advocates, the people who are behind this work. We gathered here today to really make awareness. We have seen the news every summer, a small child drowning, and that should never happen in Minnesota. As I shared on a couple of days ago with my colleagues, myself, my nephew was drowned about a year and a half ago. He was 8 years old with autism. I really want to take the time to thank the mom. We can't imagine what they're going through. I really also want to thank Anissa and Mangar Voices, who has championed this work. They have created a term to define for what autism is in our language, and that is Mangar. That word was born by coming together and making that awareness. I want to take the time to thank Health Department, Deputy Ricci, and also Commissioner and also Mayor's Office, who have worked with us to bring this forward. And now I would like to hand Anissa and others who would like to make remarks.
Thank you. Good morning, council members, community members, and honored guests. My name is Anissa Haji Mohammed, and I serve as the board chair of Mangar Voices. On behalf of our organization, I want to express my deepest gratitude to Council Member Jamal Usman for his leadership and to the City of Minneapolis and the Mayor's Office for working alongside us to bring this resolution to life. This morning, we remember two beautiful boys, Wa'is Ali Mohammed and Mohammed Mohammed. To their mothers, Faye and Hodan, we offer our heartfelt condolences. We promised you that we would not let your children's lives be forgotten, and this resolution is only the beginning. We are committed to ensuring that no more children die from preventable deaths. In 2020, during the height of the pandemic, our advisory board member, Dr. Hussein Ojama, together with a group of parents, professionals, and providers, including myself, introduced the word Mangar, which means unique mind in Somali. This word was created out of necessity to replace the harmful, stigmatizing language around autism in our community with one rooted in dignity and cultural pride. Since then, Mangar has grown into a term used in research and medical settings, and most importantly, in the daily language of families who finally feel seen and understood. The response from our community has been overwhelming and deeply affirming. Mangar Voices is led entirely by parents, many of us caregivers to autistic children, who give what little time, energy, and resources we have to do this work. We operate with little funding, but we continue because we know this work is essential. We know our children's lives matter. To our board, our advisors, and every community member who walks alongside us, thank you. This resolution is not the end. It's just the beginning of a safer, more inclusive future. Thank you. I will hand it to Abdi Karim to also share his thoughts.
Hi, assalamu alaikum. My job is supposed to do a speech that I prepare in English, but just realized that I have to translate in Somali in this part. So let's see what I went to school for my ESL, if this works or not. Whether I go back to So my name is Abdi Karim. I'm one of the executive of Mangar. Maanta halkan waxaan isugu nimi in aanu ka hadallo. I was almost speaking in English, you know. In aanu halkan waxaan isugu nimidnay annaka oo halkan ay nala socdaan hooyooyinkii dhalay labadii ilmood ee yaryaraa ee ku dhintay in biyaha ee autistiga ahaa annaka oo ka dagaalamayna inaan ilmo dambe nagaga dhimanin sida carruurtaas ku dhacday iyo inaan carruurtaas dhimashadii ay dhinteen la ilaabin oo aan wax ka qabanno carruurta dambe noo hadhay iyo inaan sheekadan biyaha iyo carruurteenna marka ay maangaarka yihiin yaacaysa wax badan laga qabto annakoo ah gruubkan oo ah la yidhaahdo maangaar gruubka maangaar voices oo ah hooyooyin iyo aabbayaal isu tegey carruura haysta carruuro wada maangaara rabana wax badan inay ka qabtaan carruurteenna maangaarka ah annakoo ah gruub aan cidina lacag siinin oo ah volunteers waxaanu halkan isugu nimi inaanu arrinkaa wax badan ka bedelo in aanu inagoo kaashanayna city of Minneapolis iyo council memberkeena Jamaal oo arrintan aad iyo aad noo dhinac galay oo nala barbar galay oo ilaa halkaas soo gaarsiiyey imikana intii ka hadhay noo dhaafinaya iyo xafiiska maayarka isagoo la kaashadon xafiiska maayarka iyo dhammaan city councils of Minneapolis annagoo u mahad celinayna waxa aanu halkan rabnaa inaanu arrintii labada carruur nagaga dhinteen wax badan ka qabanno carruuraheena soo socda aanay dib ugu dhicin bedelno carruur ilmo dambe oo intuu naga cararo biyo ku dhaca haddii alla yidhaah asalaamu calaykum waraxmatullah. Again, thanks for every city council, Minneapolis City Council, especially City Council Jamal, who put all this together, and the mayor's office.
We're feeling. Yeah. Would anyone else like to share some thoughts? I think I just want to add, Councilman Asman, you shared your deeply personal story. As we were doing this work, we heard of 2 children who drowned, one of them being Faye's son, the other being Hodan's son. And we had no idea that the third child that we kept mentioning, who, because he didn't make it to the news, was not known, his story was not shared, that it was your own nephew. And so I just want everyone to know that it was Councilman Asman who reached out to us. He did this work. He took the initiative. He said, this matters to me. This is personal. And I don't want this to happen to any other family. And so I just want to thank you for your courage, your leadership, and for being the shining light in a really dark time for all of us. So thank you.
Thank you.
waxaa kale oon rabay inaan ku daro dhammaan dadka Soomaaliyeed waxaan dhageysan doonaa ama halkan jooga waxaa la geli doonaa doorashadii sanadkan soo socota.
Thank you so much, and we will take a picture together.
Thank you all for those presentations. At this time, I'm going to call this regular meeting of the City Council for April 17th to order. The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Vita.
Present.
Councilmember Ellison.
Here.
Councilmember Koski.
Present.
Councilmember Wongsley.
Present.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Present.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Present.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Present.
Councilmember Cashman.
Present.
Councilmember Osman.
Present.
Councilmember Rainville.
Present.
Councilmember Chavez.
Present.
Vice President Shugtai.
Present.
President Payne.
Present.
There are 13 members present.
Let the record reflect we have a quorum. Before we begin the meeting, I want to offer a friendly reminder to all members and staff that this meeting is broadcast live to enable greater public participation. The broadcast includes real-time captioning as a further method to increase the accessibility of our proceedings to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. With that, the agenda for today's meeting is before us. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second. The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the agenda is adopted. The next item is acceptance of minutes from our regular meeting of March 27th. I would entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the minutes have been accepted. Finally, we have the referral of petitions, communications, and reports to proper committees. May I have that motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and those matters have been referred. The next order of business is the presentation of reports from our standing committees. Those are taken in alphabetical order, beginning with the report of our Administration and Enterprise Oversight Committee, which will be presented by its Vice Chair, Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. The Administration and Enterprise Oversight Committee brings forward 13 items for approval today. Item number 1 is a gift acceptance from the National Public Safety Partnership for travel associated with Chief O'Hara. Item number 2 is a gift acceptance from the American Waterworks Association for travel for Public Works Engineer Rochelle Widmer. Item number 3 is a contract amendment with Carpel for a case management software solution for the City Attorney's Office, an increase of $27,000. Item number 4 is a contract amendment with Pillsbury United Communities for our lead program services. That's an increase to the contract of $250,000 and a contract extension through next year. Item number 5 are contracts with Metro Youth Diversion for East Lake Street and East Franklin Community Safety Ambassador programs. And I want to point out that these were originally just approved at the end of February. The budget here is adjusted to align with the full requirements for both locations. Item number 6 is a contract amendment with the state for air quality monitoring stations on city property. Item number 7 is a contract amendment with Kramer for the First Avenue Bridge reconstruction project. Item number 8 are contract amendments with various vendors for our 2024 violence prevention services. These are extensions. Item number 9 is a contract with Minneapolis Downtown Council for the Vibrant Downtown Storefronts Initiative. Item number 10 is a lease with COCO for facility and meeting room space. This is a continuation with a continuation in the amount of $55,000. Item number 11 is a low bid acceptance for overlay and existing lay markings and contract authorization with TBL Durables. Item number 12 are contracts with various organizations for our Open Streets events for this year. Item number 13 is a contract with LSE Architects for architectural and engineering design services. I'll move approval of all items.
Councilmember Palmisano has moved approval of the committee's report. Is there any discussion? I added myself to queue because I just wanted to thank the leaders in the Audubon Neighborhood Association for bringing open streets back to Central Avenue in Northeast. I think that's going to be extremely exciting. Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to speak to item number 13 as we take up actions on the Democracy Center. I did want to just speak publicly that this community, the community that I represent and on the South Side, has been waiting for a really long time for that corner that has been blighted since 2020 to be addressed, and it still has not been fully addressed. We had a discussion in our committee, I believe, in fall of 2024, maybe a little bit at the end of that summer, about removing the barbed wire, which was removed, but also seeing that the burnt vestibule that is there would be taken care of. At that time, the administration had discussed that it would be about 3 months until that was removed and addressed, and that still has not been addressed here as we're in April of 2025. And I continually hear from residents in my ward and throughout the South Side that the city of Minneapolis does not care about this community because this corner has just been left burnt and dilapidated without any addressing. And I understand my role as a council member to advocate for that to be changed. And so that's what I'm doing here today. I think our administration, as we're moving forward on the Democracy Center, needs to find ways to work with us or our community to beautify this corner, because it's been sitting there far too long the way that it has been, and there's been multiple requests to address that with some urgency. So I appreciate anyone that's listening in the administration. This is more of an ask and a friendly ask for us to work together. Any information that's available for us to have offline, I would deeply appreciate, so we can share that out with our constituents.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair. I didn't necessarily intend to speak, but you know, I want to echo Councilmember Chowdhury's comments that I hope we can get movement on this center. I'm not sure if it's been the administration that has been the holdup. It seems to me that the community over these past 4.5 years and this council have not been able to come to any kind of consensus on what should happen there. I'm glad we're moving forward now, and I really sincerely hope that we can continue that forward-moving progress. So if that means working with the administration or with the community, I hope that becomes the reality.
Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, President Payne. I just want to inform council members that in committee we did receive a presentation from the administration about update status regarding the Democracy Center and its progress in regards to the architectural contract that's being brought for us to consider today and the timeline associated with that. So I would encourage folks to read that. It's attached to the LIM, so there is progress being made. What I'm hearing from Councilmember Chowdhury is more specifically for the administration to make due on their commitments and promises made earlier last year around the longstanding remnants from the uprising that started with the barbed wire, which we identified needed to be taken down. And then in addition to the burnt remnants outside around the 3rd precinct, which, as you highlighted, there was a timeline given that has not been fulfilled. So I'm more than happy to support in curating in any conversations with, I believe that would be Finance and Property Services, so Director O'Brien, to get a sense of, and I believe also our COO Margaret Anderson Kelleher, to get a sense of what is the updated timeline for getting those things addressed.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think it's just important to clarify. I think there's a lot of unity up here about addressing the dilapidated nature of that corner, and I wanted to make sure that the public that's following understands that this council did pass a resolution that supports addressing the blighted nature of this corner. And as a council member who supports the Democracy Center, one of the things that's important to me is making sure that we address the blight, and then the final product is something that matches the needs of the community as it comes to that corner of 3000 Minnehaha. And that conversation that we had about an inactive warehouse being on that site. And there was an interest in having communications and discussion and working together to figure that part out alongside the blight. And I hope that those are commitments that we can make do on, but I can't have us vote on this contract for $800,000 and not mention these needs that still need to be addressed.
Councilmember Ellison.
Thank you. I wanted to say a few things. One is that I want to respect the fact that an empty building does not have to be a blighted building, and I think that's what my colleagues are speaking to. And I agree with that. But I also did want to shift gears a little bit to talk about LSC and the work of Mohammed Luwal and his team. I really want to thank staff for the process they've gone through. LSC is a tremendous community asset. They're newly headquartered in Ward 5, so whoop whoop. But most importantly, they're a local firm. They've worked on things all across the city and all across the metro, and I think that their work, the quality of their work, really speaks for itself. I think we all would do well to respect how difficult it's been, how difficult of a conversation it's been for the community, for council members, for everyone to figure out what should go in this building. I think that and while I've never opposed the Democracy Center, I respected the fact that some of my colleagues questioned whether this was the direction we should go. I think that conversation got ahead. We've charted that territory, and now we've landed here where we've got a tremendous community member and his firm, highly qualified to sort of lean into this project and take it on. And so, I just wanted to highlight that, and I didn't want this conversation to go by without us at least acknowledging that, at the end of this thing, we're going to have a tremendous architect design a Democracy Center that is much needed, and that's really where the focus should be. This conversation around an empty building and a blighted building, I think, is totally fair for colleagues to bring up in this context. But I also didn't want to let the moment go by without highlighting the tremendous work of staff, how excited I am about the Democracy Center, and us partnering with such a community asset. So that's all.
Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, I just wanted to respond to some of the comments about the current state of the building. I was in a meeting yesterday with staff who are actively involved in this project and appreciate the opportunity we had at AEO, or the Administration Enterprise Oversight Committee, this cycle to bring this contract forward. It's very exciting to move this work forward. Staff is keenly aware of the council's desire to make immediate improvements to the site, and I can assure you that that work is underway now and is ongoing. There is both internal work to the structure of the facility as well as external work, and obviously there is certain parts of that building, including the primary entryway, that are more significant than perhaps other parts. And I am more than happy to go back to the team and get an update I can share sort of as a follow-up memo on the status, because I know that work is ongoing and that it's underway right now. Don't know exactly the delivery date for when some of those more visible improvements will be made, but I do know that the Property Services team is working hard to move that priority that the council has expressed multiple times forward as quickly as possible.
Thank you for that context, Mr. Clerk. Councilmember Vita.
Thank you. I had similar comments because I've had conversations with staff in the last week. I know the vestibule is coming down within the next week or so, is what I was told. Like, it was just a delay because of windows or some equipment or something like that. But that's happening real soon here. And Barbara O'Brien and maybe COO Anderson Kelleher would be the folks to talk to about that. That's who I learned this information from. But there are some things happening in the next couple of weeks, if not this next week, to the space.
Is there anybody from the administration that can speak to that? Oh, Madam COO.
Thank you, President Payne. Margaret Anderson Kelleher, COO for the City of Minneapolis. To Council Member Chowdhury's question, this work is happening right now. The delay was first in the supply chain with the windows, because when the vestibule comes out, this is open to the elements. And then the contractor was waiting for some better weather, and they actually are mobilizing this week on the vestibule issue. Other window replacement has begun. I believe the top floor has had its window replacement. Other floors are going to have that. The administration also has plans to rewrap that construction fencing with some more information, hopefully after your vote today. It won't happen today, I want to be clear, but we're working towards this to make sure that we are communicating as the city of what is happening going forward on the site. So I appreciate the question. Thank you very much. Director O'Brien and her team have been working very hard on this project, and really appreciate the opportunity to come up today. Thanks.
Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, President Payne. I was actually going to ask to kind of follow up both on Clerk Carl's and COO's comments, if you could actually loop back and put that in an update to council, because it sounds like not everyone has received the same information. And I think the goal of the presentation last week was for council members like Chowdhury and those representing that area to have information like this on the temporary or intermediate state, as well as how the project itself is moving forward. So if we could get a memo sent out to council so everyone can have that information, that would be greatly appreciated.
Mr. President, Councilmember Wansley, we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you. And seeing no one else in queue, I will ask the clerk to call the roll on the committee report.
Councilmember Vito.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman is absent. Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes.
That carries, and that report is adopted. The next report is from our Budget Committee, and that report will be presented by that committee's chair, Vice President Chugtai.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Budget Committee is bringing forward 2 items for our consideration today. Item number 1 is an appointed position in the Human Resources Department of Assistant Director of Labor Relations, and this is a passage of ordinance approving the salary schedule and adopting findings establishing the position in the unclassified service. Item number 2 is consideration of rollover of unspent 2024 appropriations. This item was sent forward without recommendation. With that, I will move approval of item number 1, and then I would like to make a separate motion for item number 2.
Vice President Chugtai has moved approval of item 1 on the committee's report. Is there any discussion on that item? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Vito.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins. Aye. Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That item carries, and before I recognize Vice President Chugtai on her motion for the remainder of that report, without objection, could the clerk record Councilmember Osman's vote on the AO report?
As
Aye.
13 aye.
All right. Vice President Chugtai.
Thank you, Mr. President. After conversations with you and Clerk Carl and staff, I will move to refer item number 2 back to the Budget Committee for further discussion.
And I will second that. Is there any discussion on that? Councilmember Palmisano.
Mr. Chair, I understand that this got moved forward without recommendation, but I'm a little confused. This feels like an about face. We all had the opportunity to reach out to staff and ask clarifying questions on any of the line items, and that's exactly what I did. I'd like to know a little bit more about the operational costs. of what something like this means. It's already mid-April. Will programs be stalled or staff even be laid off if there isn't funding to continue some of the work that we agreed to last year within budget recommendations that we approved last year? Our departments operate on tight budgets, and there isn't always funding available to even temporarily move funds to cover for a shortfall for some continuing work. So I do have some questions about what this delay means for city staff. And in my experience, I don't think we have ever not done a rollover authorization. Is there anybody here that can speak to the operational costs and what the ramifications might be of not moving forward today in mid-April with this rollover?
I'm not sure that we have anybody in the room. Oh, I see COO Margaret Anderson Kelleher. Before I recognize the COO, Mr. Carl, do you want to speak to part of our plan here on moving it back to committee?
Mr. President, I can certainly speak to the conversation we had. I believe that the Chief Financial Officer, Dushani Dye, at committee mentioned that the necessity of closing out the books from the previous fiscal year, which is the money we're talking about rolling over into the current fiscal year, has to be done by the end of June. And that the timeline absolutely is that the council's action must precede the closing of the books by the end of June in order to meet that fiscal timeline. So I think from a timing perspective, there certainly is, a little bit of wiggle room for the council if there are additional questions or feedback. Certainly at the committee level, there was a lot of questions about the implications of those rollovers. I do think staff made clear at that time that this money is money that is already committed. This money is committed, and it would be a significant hole in this year's budget if the council chose not to roll over that money. So as Councilmember Palmisano said, it is fairly routine for us to roll that money over, and I think that the council's questions in the next cycle would hopefully clarify the intent of that. If that money were not to be rolled over, the implication of that, as I think the CFO or Chief Financial Officer made clear, is that the funding is committed, and the city would be on the hook to pay that out of the current fiscal budget, and that would create some significant operational concerns. So I don't know and can't speak to the fact, and certainly the COO or the CFO could speak to the operational impacts, but I do know that it was stated that the books have to be closed by the end of June, and that there are commitments to all of those funds that were identified in that resolution.
And so I would just add that we are working towards getting more detail. So we did get a good report from our controller on some details in those line items. One of the things that I feel is lacking in this process is our requirements within our financial policies around business plans, and that's something that hasn't really been done in the city in a number of years. And I would like to do a legislative directive that articulates our expectations on a business plan. I don't think it is fair to our staff, especially a new controller, to look to a business plan that has not existed since he's been employed at the city. So I think it's our job to set some expectations on what we would like to see in a business plan to meet that requirement. And by referring this back to committee, that gives us enough time to draft up those expectations in the form of a legislative directive so that we can bring it forward and close out those books. But I'll recognize COO Anderson Kelleher.
Thank you, President Payne. Ms. Kelleher, my question was, what are the operational ramifications of another cycle of delay? With appreciation that by the CFO's statutes, we don't, this still meets certain documented timeline standards. But what is the operational impact of delay?
Thank you, Council President Payne. Margaret Anderson Kelleher, CO for the City of Minneapolis. A one-cycle delay is not a mortal wound to the programming that is committed. However, I think anything beyond that could be. And the reason why is the closure of the books is important for the state auditor to come in and do everything the state auditor will do, our own financial processes. I do want to address particularly the business plan question. I know this is a council policy in the financial policies. However, there is no department in this city that we can find who's done a business plan since somewhere around 2015 or 2016, and that is because the process changed. The process changed to be a more transparent, publicly facing budget book. that has all of the detail, probably more detail than any budget, any business plan would have had. And that is what the spending aligns with in the budget in terms of departmental spend, as well as any council-directed spending that then comes up in the budget process is incorporated into the budget book going forward. So these are all committed funds. I have quite a list here that we could talk about in terms of what would be impacted, things like the Elliott Park Brixati opioid pilot that is just about ready to launch. Things like Small Business Week, Black and Latino Business Week funding. And one of the main issues, I think it's important for the public to understand this, and you all understand this, but I think we are speaking to the public at this point as well. One of the main reasons that this process exists is because our contracts do not run January 1 to December 31st. Nor do I think we want them to, because what that does is cause a end-of-year spending frenzy or something like that. I have been in environments that have that type of policy. This allows for the contracts to run, whether it's the Witch's Hat in Prospect Park renovation, or whether it's the summer contracting program with community outreach and safety on the north side and Cedar River side and Little Earth. That's a summer program, runs summer to summer. And so the reason for the carryover, for the rollover, is because these contracts are things that straddle the years. The work is absolutely aligned with the work you have told us that you want us to do, as well as what's in the budget book.
Thank you. I'll have to move on to recognize Councilmember Ellison.
Thank you. I may have a few questions for you, so just hold tight. I'm struggling with this move a little bit because I understand the endpoint we're trying to get to. I'm not convinced that the endpoint we're trying to get to is that these two things are married. I feel like we could still pursue what we're trying to pursue with business plans and clarity. And my understanding is that there was information that the committee was looking for, that council was looking for, that council leadership was looking for, that maybe didn't quite get delivered by today. But I'm wondering if that information can still be delivered. My worry is that we send this back to committee, and I'm just more thinking out loud here. I haven't decided how I'm voting on this yet. But my worry is that we send this back to committee, that the work is so robust and vast that we don't quite get the answers we need by the end of next cycle, and then we're kind of in this same boat where we're sort of holding up an item on something that maybe isn't contingent on. That's something we could move forward for without holding up this item. That's my sort of struggle with this here. And so I guess I'm just wondering, COO Anderson Kelleher, if you feel like can you offer me some clarity on what information, and my colleagues can jump in as well, council leadership's looking for that you weren't able to get to today, and when can that information be delivered? I guess I'll start there.
Council President Payne and Councilmember Ellison, I know the controller delivered a line-by-line spreadsheet that I'm not sure if it's loaded in LIMS yet, but it's quite a lot of information about exactly every single item that is being rolled over with detail. I think that to your colleagues, you have to ask the other question because I am not aware of what else is needed here.
Okay, that's a fair point. I guess, just for Council President, just one question I have is, if we're not able to get the information we're looking for by the end of next cycle, are we going to be in a position where we're sort of holding this item up, or contingent on X factors? Because that's the situation I'd like to avoid.
Yeah, no, my expectation is not to hold this beyond one cycle. My expectation is to use one cycle. For instance, we got the email from the controller late in the day yesterday, and I don't want to force all of you to take a vote on $42 million of money movement on 24 hours of reviewing some important information. So it's going to accomplish two things. One, it's going to give us the time to go through the details of each of those line items, not to question the validity of those line items, but just so that we're making sure we have a deep understanding as an oversight body about what it means to move that much money through this institution. Two, I don't think it's fair for the COO to sit up here and have to answer the level of detail that we're looking for. We should be saying what that level of detail is. And so we're working with, and the reason I had called on the clerk is we are later in our agenda going to be moving our policy and research and oversight and evaluation team underneath the clerk. And this is the type of work that we want to see them doing, is helping us set those expectations along and in collaboration, hopefully, with the administration around what a business plan might look like as we go into the budget cycle and the mayor's recommended budget. And when the next budget book comes out, I think the controller referenced the budget book as the business plan, and it's not exactly a business plan, but it is more detailed than what had been in the past. I'd like us to have more alignment, and if we're going to say the budget book is the business plan, let's actually really articulate what the parameters are that we're looking for. What are the details we're looking for? Is it mission, vision, values of the department? Is it programs? Is it outcomes? And I know that our PMI department is working on a performance management framework. Should that be in the budget book? So this is going to give our professional staff the time to collaborate with the administration on what a business plan might look like going forward, something that has actually not existed for, sounds like, close to a decade. And then I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, Mr. Clerk. So that's my expectation. Okay. I don't plan to hold this for more than a cycle.
Okay, no. I understand that. Yeah, and so what I'm hearing is that if at the end of the 2 weeks we still have outstanding questions about these processes, we're still moving forward with these items. Okay, cool. That's what I wanted. I wanted to avoid some kind of that kind of dynamic. So, okay. That answers my questions. Thank you. Thank you for getting me up to speed here.
Vice President Chuktai.
Thank you, Mr. President. I really appreciate our staff in the Finance and Property Services Department pulling together some of the information that was requested at the Budget Committee meeting on Monday and getting those things over to us yesterday afternoon. And, I've started going through the pretty robust spreadsheet of information that was shared yesterday. I have not completed a review personally. I don't know if others have had the opportunity to yet or not. To me, the questions that came up in committee that are important to the discussion in considering this motion to send this item back to committee for a cycle are, the oath of office that all of us took, and as a result have a fiduciary obligation to the city of Minneapolis, and a part of the way that is exercised is in upholding the obligations that are outlined in our financial policies, and our financial policies note that in order for an item to be eligible for rollover, it must be in line with a department's business plan. Now, I think we have a gift here in the legislative department that our city clerk is the longest serving department director within the entire enterprise. And so it allows us to have a historic look back in a way that sometimes can shed light into how processes are changed. Or adjusted over time. Rollover and a number of other financial functions are a part of a number of other financial functions, financial policies. These are a part of how we conduct oversight within this enterprise. And so, I understand it's been since 2015, 2016, as both the COO noted and as Clerk Carl has noted, since the city formally, stopped doing business plans. And I'm sort of hoping that Clerk Carl can potentially shed some light and answer a couple of questions here around what happened back in 2015 or 2016 that led to departmental business plans not happening anymore, and was that decision that council made, or how did that come to be?
Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, Madam Vice President, I don't know that I have the full story, obviously. I was here in 2015. Around that timeline, it's my recollection that the enterprise undertook one of many efforts to look at its performance management system, of which department business plans were a component. And there was a decision to postpone updating and changing what was then called Results Minneapolis in favor of allowing some very important enterprise-wide spans of work to sort of run their cycle and be completed. There was the launch of the Strategic Race Equity Action Plan. There was the 2040 Comp Plan that was going on. And there were some decisions operationally that were made. I don't believe that involved the City Council, to pause and let those scopes of work complete. And then once those scopes of work were complete, that would inform we would take back up the Results Minneapolis and Department Business Planning and move forward. But having those scopes of work informed by these larger community-wide and certainly enterprise-wide initiatives. And my recollection is, as those scopes of work move forward, we didn't really go back as an enterprise and pick up business plans. So I appreciate that our policies refer to business plans, talk about business plans, but I don't think that we have engaged in the business planning process the way that it was done in 2015 and in previous years. And so that's my knowledge of that process and how it ended. There were several efforts prior to 2015 to improve and bring forward and modernize the Results Minneapolis program. But ultimately, I think that sort of got paused and then never picked back up.
Thank you for that. So if I'm understanding you correctly, the decision to pause departmental business plans was to make room for initiatives like Results Minneapolis, which to date actually have not fully been implemented or actualized. And what was lost in that is that annual departmental business plan process, and that this wasn't something that was the thought here wasn't, let's do a far more robust budget book instead of departmental business plans. It was, let's do a temporary pause, and then it never got picked back up.
Madam Vice President, that was my recollection of living through that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. I actually added myself to queue, and then I was going to remove myself from queue because I spoke to some of those items in answering Councilmember Ellison's questions, but actually, your discussion with Mr. Clerk, I started in 2016 in City Hall on the innovation team, which got merged with Results Minneapolis to become what is now PMI. And so I actually have some firsthand knowledge of that background as well. And part of the background there is the reason that Results Minneapolis was sunset was because there was somewhat of a problem with how it was being managed, in that it was a component of the of the coordinator's office, and the coordinator didn't have the authority of who our COO has now. So it really came up down to whether or not a charter department wanted to or didn't want to participate in Results Minneapolis. There's quite a few power dynamics that it resulted from that. Therefore, some of the metrics that were selected for measuring the performance of the institution were not always the most robust metrics. Oftentimes they were what's colloquially known as vanity metrics, things that are easy to track but don't necessarily give any insight into the performance of an organization. And so that was originally under the process of getting revamped just slightly before I ended up running for office. And with COVID and everything else that we've been through as a city, that revamp never really got completed. We saw a little bit of that revamp in our first, or at least in my first budget year, where we did have a performance management framework that did show up in some of our department presentations, but it was kind of ad hoc. Some of the departments were further along than others. We now have a much more built out PMI team. They've got a much more built out performance management framework. What I would like to have us accomplish in this one cycle referral back to committee is to incorporate some of that work that's already been done by PMI into what we would like to see as far as what departments are presenting to us, whether that's in the budget book or in the department presentations or the mayor's recommended budget. So that's the intention here. It was good to hear from our COO that one cycle delay shouldn't have a significant operational impact. It's not my intention to have anything more than a one cycle period of time so that we have the time to review. And the bonus of this is, I was getting phone calls from department heads last night having to, schedule their day because they were going to come and answer questions about the details. And I said, hey, my intention is actually to give both my colleagues time and you time for us to get through these details so you don't have to completely drop everything that you're doing and show up in council today. So we're just trying to be very thoughtful and diligent on how we're moving forward on this. And COO, did you want to add anything to that?
So, Mr. President, on this issue of business plans, I want to be clear. They are written for a 4-year period of time, usually with updates. After that, for a short period of time, and then a new one is done. I want to emphasize how much work that is going to be for your department heads and line staff who are trying to right now go out and fill potholes, work on the summer safety plan, and do a number of other things. So I'm not against the idea that we would have some of these. I think you should look at what was done in the past, though, because the budget book is actually a far more robust document about goals, and I think incorporating where we have performance metrics now and how we are doing them is important going forward. This is a backward-looking exercise. I want to be very clear. This is taking funding that you all approved, that the mayor signed, and that is rollover that is already obligated. So I think we can work this out and obviously answer the questions that all of you may have about specific line items. I do want to caution that the business planning process of the past was lengthy, took a lot of staff time, and I think to your, did you say vanity measures? I would say if we're going to do something like this, we don't want that. We want real goals. And so it is really, of course, always up to the oversight body of what they want to look at, and I respect that. And so we will be there to answer questions and help you get through these rollover dollars, where, a quarter of them are the naturally affordable housing dollars and things like that.
Yeah, and to be clear, we're not talking about going back to the past and recreating business plans of yore. We're talking about how we want to move forward with a really intentional way that both the legislative body and the administration works together to plan for the future. And one other thing that comes to mind through your comments is, actually, I think I might have lost the other thing that came to mind. But the long story short is, our expectation is not that you're going to have a business plan done in the next 2 weeks. The expectation is that we're going to figure out what the scaffolding of what that type of documentation would look like as we want to move forward and collaborate together. That's what my expectation is. So, yeah. Councilmember Palmisano.
Mr. Chair, you've had your time to speak now, so please do not take up so much of my time for the second time in queue. I will hold a question I have for you to the end, and then you can run out my time. I've been here long enough to know what business plan presentations are like. They were nothing special, to be honest. Sometimes I was one of the only council members in the room. They were informal, they were in different rooms of City Hall, they were not very well attended, they felt more like an internal conversation between a department director and those who speak. This has been an evolution. Let's not go backwards in time, like you said. One cycle is not something to fight over here. And one cycle is surely not long enough to create some new type of plan. I don't want to delay this. My concern here, Council President Payne, is that this council continually delays the work of this administration, the work of the city staff, to move forward on seeming everything. I don't want work in Elliott Park to be delayed here, not for a minute, when city staff are finally ready to move forward. And let me point out, and when you added in all of your earmarks, all of the budget amendments from last year, nearly all of which I strongly objected to, those were not in any budget, and they sure were not in any business plan. So it's better and more transparent now. The information is available to the public. So now I'll give you the rest of my time, Council President Payne. Given that business plans do exist in the form of the budget book, Council President Payne, what specific information are you looking for that isn't in there already? And you have plenty of time left to give me some examples.
I actually just added myself to queue because I remembered what I wanted to speak to previously, and I think it might get to that question. So I'll just make sure that we're using speaker management accordingly. Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have lengthy comments. I just have just a thought in this kind of exercise that we're going through, especially in trying to figure out building out a muscle around oversight when it comes to budgeting, and also considering that budgeting is just going to look differently in these next years, right? Like, we are looking at federal funding being cut from cities nationwide. Our city is not immune to that. We are looking at our tax base being a struggle for the amount of funding that we require. Last year, this council had to spend so much time figuring out a way to lower the mayor's levy, right, significantly. That was something that we took on and we felt in responsibility to do. And so one of the things that feels really clear, and that I'm really glad we're having this conversation, is our financial policy. There are areas of it where it is just become outdated. It should not be in our financial policy that we should measure against our rollovers against this business plan if that is not an existing form that's being executed for now nearly 10 years. This is the work of this council. This is the oversight that we're doing so we can figure out how we're spending money over a calendar year. I refuse to be a council member that says, yep, we should just rubber stamp millions and millions of dollars that are going to be rolled over. I have no motive in delaying this work, but I do want to understand how we got to the point of having so much funding that is being rolled over. What are these items that are being rolled over? Some of them were very vaguely put. What do we need to have in conversation with each other to be prepared for this next budget cycle and continual budget cycles that are related to our rollover process and what we're spending and not spending within a calendar year? And I think this is actually a really great thing for us to consider putting into our work plan if this is something that this body cares a lot about, because I agree we're not going to be able to figure this out in just 2 weeks, but I think we're beginning a really important start of a conversation, and I welcome legislative directives that bring new information to light that hasn't been discussed in a while, because I don't think presently this council has fully built out our muscles around budgeting and budgeting oversight. Thank you.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll try to be brief. And I don't know if my comments are specifically related to this conversation, though they are. But, I think a business plan by department has to be predicated on goals that are set by the city council. I don't want our departments making up their own business plans that may be contrary to our goals. We have not been setting goals for this council. And so consequently, the business plans are embedded in the budget. And that's how we are, quote, meeting the city's goals. There was, Clerk Carl talked about the process in 2016. I seem to recall that it was not a council decision to terminate that process, but rather an internal decision within the PMI department to end Results Minneapolis, which was not necessarily serving our needs, but we never came up with another process to sort of facilitate that. And that's the role of this council or a city council to do. And so as we are looking forward to Council Member Chowdhury's point, we need to put that in the work plan to ensure that we are taking the time to carve out what our goals are so that we can then inform our departments and they can have a sense of what their business plan should look like in order to facilitate those goals. So I just want to share those thoughts. Thank you.
Councilmember Ellison.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm supportive of us pursuing, as I've been listening to the conversation, I've been trying to form an opinion here. And I think that I basically agree that we should be pursuing some of these questions and some of this work. I don't see the direct connection to the rollover item in front of us. I just think that we can, I think it is totally worthy for us to put together a work group, for us to, get audit involved. But again, work plans were slightly before my time, but I know that like when I first got elected, the sense was that they weren't a bad thing, but they were basically ineffective. They basically didn't work in any sort of sense. And so I think that I'm, if you're hearing the old guys up here being like, what are we doing with the work plan thing? I think it's a reaction to the fact, the history, our understanding of the history of work plans. And I think Councilmember Palmisano said to paraphrase, that we sort of evolved out of them. And it's kind of been my impression as well. Not to say that what we have right here is perfect. I think it's absolutely worthwhile for us to pursue whatever changes we think we should be pursuing, stronger oversight that we think we should be pursuing. But I just don't see the direct connection to these rollover dollars. And I think that I would support work that pursued us strengthening our financial policies, strengthening our oversight, strengthening transparency. I just can't quite get myself to make the connection on how a delay on this item brings us any closer to that. So that's all I wanted to say.
I added myself to queue because I remembered what I wanted to say when I was speaking with COO Anderson de Kelleher. But this actually answers your question, Councilmember Ellison, and also your question, Councilmember Palmisano. If the definitive position of this institution is that the budget book is the source of truth about our goals and the direction and the priorities of the city, let's update our financial policies to reflect that. So why are we referencing a business plan as the required criteria to approve rollover when we have, as an institution, decided that business plans are an ineffective document? So it could go either way for me. I would like to either see a business plan that meets a set of requirements that this body clearly articulates, of which I would like to have reflected in the legislative directive, or how we should move forward is let's strike through that language in our financial policy and say has to align with our budget book. Either way, that's the connection here, Councilmember Ellison, is that we are using a set of policies to approve these dollars that is completely out of date and completely irrelevant. So either our business planning is wrong and irrelevant, and we should be using our current process of the budget book, or we need to change our policies so that they say this needs to be something that is listed within our budget book.
But changed in 2 weeks, though, right? I think that's what I'm getting stuck on.
This is just so that we have the time to actually do it diligently and not do committee work right here, right now. Vice President Chaktai.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple of final things here. We have an obligation to uphold the policies that are outlined in ordinance, in financial policies. Right now, our financial policies say that in order for an item to be eligible for rollover, it must be in line with a department's business plan. An update to that easily can happen in 2 weeks so that we are not violating our own financial policies. Second, I wanted to just talk about the incredible work that our controller did in pulling together information that was outstanding from the budget committee and sending that over to us yesterday. I know that there are several of us who have not had the opportunity to go through the amount of information that we received. Again, it is a really big deal that we were able to get that so quickly from when concerns were brought up in committee on Monday. And then, finally, I would say I actually really appreciated the discussion from Councilmember Jenkins and the items she raised around setting the city's goals. Which happens through our strategic planning process. And I know something that we are in the middle of discussing with our city attorney's office. I believe it actually originated in our Administration and Enterprise Oversight Committee, is a discussion with the city attorney's office on whether or not council even has the authority to set goals on behalf of the administration or for departments broadly. And so that's a part of the wrinkle in being able to set those types of goals that I believe you're absolutely correct about, but wanted to offer that additional clarity. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you. As I try to make up my mind here on my vote, I was hoping that Councilmember Palmisano's question of you could get answered. That would help me understand why you feel there's a need to delay.
To Councilmember Palmisano's question, what's missing? Right now, our budget book is at the department level, and oftentimes it does have some robust content around what the mission of the department is, what its kind of broader vision is. And then oftentimes it's prioritized with change requests. So we get a pretty deep description on change requests, but we don't oftentimes have deep descriptions at the programmatic level. And what I would like to see moving forward is not just here goes our broader vision and mission as an institution and how that translates to what the work of a department is, but how does the work of the department translate to programmatic descriptions with performance metrics associated with those programmatic descriptions. So there's this concept called OKRs, outcome key results. Key results are usually what we consider the key performance indicators in performance management. And those are the kind of like individual tactical things that a department does. But what do those individual tactical things translate to when it comes to outcomes and impact for our community? So that when we're saying that we need to raise our tax levy by 8.3%, what is our community getting for that? What are the outcomes that our community gets for that? Are they getting more potholes covered, or are they getting more programmatic things around controls? We don't have a lot of granularity to that. I think there's an open question on whether we should be going back to programmatic budgeting, but that's not what I'm really trying to articulate here. What I'm trying to articulate here is that we should give the administration clear expectations on what we would want to see to be able to approve these types of transactions in the future.
And to Councilmember Ellison's point, can that be accomplished in 2 weeks?
We can articulate out what some of those parameters are that we would like to see, the scaffolding. I'm calling that the scaffolding of a business plan. And like I said, if we don't think business plans are the right format, then we should change our financial policies. And I think that in the next 2 weeks, we can determine, hey, why don't we just change our financial policies to not refer to this outdated document that we haven't used in a decade? That might be the outcome of this exercise. Councilmember Vita.
I'm having a really hard time tracking what the goals are here. Like, I really don't understand what we're trying to accomplish with this delay. I completely understand what folks are saying about some of the goals, but I don't know what that has to do with delaying this another cycle at all. And it definitely seems extremely complicated. I would have rather seen a legislative directive come out with all of these potential questions or concerns around budget and how we move forward and vote on that separate than this process, I really don't. I'm really not understanding what this has to do with rollover, what business plans have to do with rollover. I feel like what Council Vice President described was semantics. It's just like maybe some words that just need to be changed, and we maybe just someone needs to do a technical amendment and change 2 words in the budget. I mean, like, and all of those things can happen. That could have happened today. There could have been an added on amendment to change those couple of words in the budget instead of delaying this another cycle. And it's still completely unrelated to rolling over these funds, having staff move forward on the work that we've already voted on. I think this conversation right now has just caused a lot of confusion for the public because we do have a budget cycle where we've voted on these things, we've asked staff to do these things. Some of these are specific to certain council members, and now we're like rolling it over just so that it can get done, what we've previously asked for to be done. The process today was just to roll it over and ensure that folks get paid and the work that we asked to be done in the budget gets done. And it's transitioned into business plans. I have questions about how these business plans are going to work with work plans that the council brought forward and adopted a year and a half ago. Like, what does that have to do with the business plans? Since I'm sure lots of the work plans have to have a financial obligation to them also. So, like, I see this as 2 completely separate conversations, lots of separate actions, not even just 2 actions. This conversation has been extremely robust, and it seems like there's going to be a lot of things that come out of, there seems to be a lot of desires to come out of this conversation around rollover. So I'm not understanding why I can't delay. I'm not going to support delaying it because I don't get what the delay is for. We can do all the things that are being brought up in committees, in briefings to learn as we need to individually versus spending 40 minutes talking about something that doesn't even need to be delayed, in my opinion.
Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, President Payne. I will also note that I'm a bit struggling with this request on a number of fronts. With the business plan suggestion in particular, because in AO for several weeks now, we've actually had PMI come forward and do multiple presentations where they're talking about Results Minneapolis and how they're integrating that into a department by department process and how they're doing performance-based contracting, looking at actually bringing on a consultant to do that work and setting those goals. So I am a little bit confused on where we're talking about like business plans and how that relates to that. And I will also note where I'm struggling a bit in this too is as someone who also had lots of questions on Tuesday, for instance, I mentioned hate crime, and I get us wanting to be diligent around why aren't certain funds being spent. When we make allocations, absolutely, we should have oversight over that. But this does feel like something separate, 2 separate conversations that's happening. And I think where there's a slight disconnect and where we actually have allocated resources to help us with this very thing is we have ABDO that has worked with our own legislative staff to come up with a robust list of recommendations on how we can better enhance our financial policies and financial oversight. I would love for them to be able to come forward to this committee and present those recommendations so that we could actually just do what I'm hearing, even Councilmember Vita mentioned, and just make those changes legislatively. So I don't see the need to do that in 2 weeks. I'm all down for us doing a legislative directive. But if we're talking about doing financial policies, we have a venue already in place for that. From my understanding, there's recommendations that is being vetted with the CAO in the clerk's office from ABDO. Why not just bring those forward so we can start that work? But this does feel a little bit disjointed for me as someone who has like tracked this a bit and also is very concerned around like how are we moving money without details, even starting from Tuesday. So I will name, I likely won't be supporting a delay because the case that's being made is been a bit confusing for me too.
Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, President Payne. I'll be supporting your motion to move this back to the Budget Committee, not because of the whole business plan thing. That is not my concern here. My concern is that we're moving millions of dollars into programming, other services, housing, a lot of stuff that is really important to our community. But there are many questions that I have, and the last thing I want is calling each department head over here today to come present on each line item when I have many, many questions that I need answered. So what I would like to see is this being sent back to committee, having the opportunity to engage with city staff, having them come to the podium, answer questions that I have, as many other people here on the dais have, and have that opportunity. I don't support a delay for the business plan component. I support a delay because I think it is important that we do our due diligence to ask questions on how this money is going to be spent, why wasn't it spent, and all those other issues that I think weren't fully reflected in the sheet that our staff sent us. So that is why I am supporting this delay, because it's part of, I believe, my job as a city council member to do oversight, to ask questions, to figure out how these dollars are being spent. So that is the ask that I have of why I am supporting this motion today.
Seeing no one else in queue on the motion to refer the item back to committee, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Vita.
No.
Councilmember Ellison.
No.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Nay.
Councilmember Jenkins.
No.
Councilmember Palmisano.
No.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
No.
Councilmember Rainville.
No.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 6 ayes and 7 nays.
That motion fails, and we have to dispense of that item. Vice President Chugtai, would you like to make a motion?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll move to approve rollover of unspent 2024 appropriations by amending the 2025 general appropriation resolution to roll over these funds.
Is there any discussion? Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Nay.
There are 12 ayes and 1 nay.
That item carries, and we have completed that committee's report. The next report is from our Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee, which will be given by that committee's chair, Councilmember Osman.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Councilmember Chowdhury, for chairing this committee last week. The Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee is bringing forward 15 items. Item 1 is approving a permanent expansion of premises license for Dexter. Item 2 is a passage of ordinance providing a local registration program for cannabis and hemp retailers. Item 3 is a passage of resolution authorizing the land sale for portion of 1027 Essex Street. Item 4 is a passage of ordinance establishing provision for a sidewalk, side cart, and street vending program. This item was amended at BIS. Item 5 is considering a license notification for Duet Cafe and Wine. This item was sent forward without recommendation, and now staff has told me that they have received withdrawal form from the restaurant. Therefore, I will be moving to delete this item on the agenda. Item 6 is approving 2 liquor license. Item 7 is approving 555 liquor license renewal. Item 8 is approving 4 gambling license. Item 9 is approving 4 gambling license renewal. Item 10 is a passage of resolution accepting funds from Midwest Art Conservation Center for City Public Art Collection. Item 11 is approving a rezoning and street vacation application from Hennepin County Facility Services. Item 12 is approving a small and medium multifamily loan assumption for several properties. Item 13 is a passage of resolution accepting a grant for the Minneapolis Animal Care and Control travel expensive. Item 14 is a passage of resolution accepting a grant from Best Friends Animal Society. Lastly, item 15, a passage of resolution authorizing animal sheltering service contract with City of St. Louis Park. With that, I'll move all items for approval and pull item 4 for discussion. Thank you.
Councilmember Osmond has moved approval of the committee's report and has pulled item 4 for a separate vote. I believe this also includes, what number were we deleting? 5, including deletion of item number 5. Is there any discussion on those items? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Viton.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osmond.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and those items are adopted. Next, we will take up item number 4. Is there anybody that wants to speak to item number 4? Councilmember Osmond?
Jeez.
Yeah, Council President Payne, we have some amendments that we would like to first introduce.
All right. Would you like to introduce your amendment?
Yep. Colleagues, I have an amendment that would amend the language relating to the umbrella part of this ordinance that would say the awning on a cart may have a minimum of 12-inch overhang in any direction. The food code does not specify the size of overhang. It only states that a cart must provide protection during adverse weather by construction or location, and that food activities must cease if protection fails. However, in conversations with staff, a minimum of a 12-inch overhang rule is meant to help be in compliance with the food code while understanding that food activities must cease if protection fails. The amendment we are bringing forward was made because of the feedback we heard during the public testimony, and we'll be able to work with staff. We were able to work with staff on this particular amendment and make it less prohibited while making street vendors meet the food code. So this basically would allow us to be able to have either a 12-inch overhang or bigger, while still addressing the food code issues.
Councilmember Chavez has moved to amend the ordinance. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on this amendment? Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did speak with Councilmember Chavez this morning, seeing this in front of us, this amendment in front of us, and I'm largely supportive of this street vending program ordinance. But this part is very confusing to potential vendors. The awning on the cart may have a minimum. May have a minimum, I think, is problematic. And in conversation with Councilmember Chavez, I fully appreciate what they're trying to get at in the food code. I'm not sure how to suggest a friendly amendment, like should have a minimum, because it is about food safety here during adverse weather. But this may have a minimum is going to be confusing to potential vendors in trying to achieve compliance, and I'm just pointing that out without any elegant, quick suggestions, except may have a minimum just doesn't make sense. Thank you.
Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Council President Payne. I think the issue here is that under state law or food code, you're not required to have an umbrella, but if you are going to have an umbrella, an umbrella is used to basically protect the food, making sure that if there are weather disasters or extreme weather conditions, that you need to have your food protected. And based on conversations with staff, a 12-inch umbrella can help address those issues in the food state code. So having a 12-inch umbrella or bigger, as long as it meets ADA compliance, is going to be helpful in addressing those concerns. So I think we could add the language may or must, but we're not required to have an umbrella under the food code. So that would be a little bit prohibitive. It just is helpful to meet the concerns under the food code. And based on conversations with staff, 12 inches is what would meet that standard.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. President. And maybe, Councilmember Palmisano, this might assuage some of your concerns about food vendors feeling confused. I know that our department staff, specifically health and business licensing, work really, really closely to make sure that everything that food vendors and sidewalk cart vendors are up to code. They look at the carts, they try to make sure that they understand when they're in compliance or not in compliance. And so I think there would be a step there for administrative staff that tackles before giving over a license to make sure that they understand what's allowable and what's not. And the intention behind this is it was stuck at 12 inches. You may have 12 inches, and then we had someone come to our public hearing that was like, well, why not 18 inches? Why not more? That would actually work better, and that would make sense for me.
Is there any other discussion on this item? Madam City Attorney?
Council President, the clerk and I have just been talking about how we could maybe make this clearer. So I'm writing on my piece of paper right now, trying to work that out. So I can have a moment.
Okay. Would it be appropriate to table this amendment and take up the other amendment while you work on that? Well, without objection, I'm going to table that and take up our other amendment, and I will call on Councilmember Chowdhury on that.
Thank you, Mr. President. The amendment that I'm bringing forward is an amendment to change food carts shall not operate within 500 feet of any education facility K through 12 to shall not operate within 200 feet of any educational facility K through 12. We're bringing forward this amendment to be in line with the buffer that exists for food trucks, for park property, which is about 200 feet. We've had conversations with Minneapolis Public Schools, Ryan Strack. He's had an opportunity to bring it back to the district and have discussions with us about it. We've also had discussions with our city staff about this change. And the district is not only okay with this, they're supportive of this change with the request that should there be a sidewalk street cart vendor within 200 feet of a school, that business licensing does the work to check in with Minneapolis Public Schools just so that they are aware. And I would appreciate your support in this. We're just trying to make sure that our food vendors are successful in the areas in which they vend, and this is just a part of making sure that it makes sense for the locations that are available to support their potential business.
Councilmember Chowdhury has moved to amend the underlying ordinance. That's been seconded. Is there any discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Walmsley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins. Aye. Councilmember Palmisano.
Ow. Aye.
Ow is right.
Wow.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Chavez.
Oh, aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That amendment carries. Now, are we ready for our next amendment? Okay, I'll recognize our city attorney.
Thank you, Council President, council members. Just in an effort to make it a little bit clearer in the amendments, an awning is not required, but if an awning is used, then it has to have a minimum of a 12-inch overhang. So the language that I would propose to substitute for the awning line would be, if there is an awning on the cart, comma, the awning shall have a minimum of a 12-inch overhang.
Is that good?
And hopefully that gives a little bit more clarity to folks who are trying to comply.
And is there a motion to adopt that amendment language?
So moved.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, President Payne. If the authors, Councilmember Chavez or Councilmember Chowdhury, could just help me understand again, if an awning is not required, why do we need a minimum for the awnings? If they so choose to have an awning, why does it need to have a minimum length or distance or, width?
Councilmember Chavez.
I think part of it, and thanks, Council President Payne, is to help address the food code safety. I think a 12-inch awning can help protect the food in case of extreme weather disasters. I know Councilmember Palatano and I had this conversation before this meeting. I'm obviously not opposed to removing the language all completely because it does sound a little bit confusing to people, but we did want to at least explicitly name it because we wanted to cause less confusion, but as a result, there might be more confusion. So,
perhaps, Mr. President, if I could, the language that's been substituted is a conditional because state law trumps local law.
Yeah.
A vendor is not required to have a covering. Therefore, the conditional language beginning with the word if a vendor chooses to have an awning, then we, the city, are saying it must be at least the minimum that our inspectors have said would provide the necessary coverage. So don't have to, but if you do, then it must be at least this minimum. So it's a conditional regulation. You don't have to, if you have a cart, have the covering. If you choose to have a covering, then the city is imposing a minimum standard, which it can.
Okay, thank you. I guess I would prefer to just strike it because I think that when we include language like this in the law, I feel like it makes people think that it is required because it's written in there. And it sounds like, an awning and all that is an expense that's not required. But if it's in the law, it would, probably seem to many folks as if it is required.
Councilmember Cashman, would you like to make a motion to amend the language to strike that sentence?
That would just be a vote against the standing.
Oh,
we don't amend to take out the language you just amended. You just vote no.
So if a no vote on this amendment would leave the ordinance without any mention of the awning, is that correct?
No, a no vote would say you don't support the language that was just read to you.
Right.
If that passes, then that language passes. However, if that language doesn't pass, if a sufficient number of people don't vote in favor of it, then you could make a motion to say I strike all reference to the minimum requirements for an awning.
Yeah. Okay, well, that would be my preference, but I am going to defer to the authors on this. But I heard some openness from Councilmember Chavez as well to just strike the language entirely.
Councilmember Ellison.
Yeah, just for my own clarity, because sometimes we end up talking about these minute details longer than I think we should, but I'll contribute to that. If we strike this language, then someone could still have an awning. There's just then no guidance for the awning.
Correct.
I'd prefer if we just had some guidance. I think guidance language is not, staff also, who presumably were involved in helping shape this language, will have a vision for how to support vendors in enforcing this. And so I feel like, a part of what we write here is sort of like, does staff understand our intent? And if staff understand the intent, then I think that it's what does it hurt? It's sort of my view.
Vice President Chugtai.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think if it's the will of the body to strike the language altogether, I think that's something I would support. However, just to add to the comments that Council Member Ellison just shared, I would say this is there are several things that when we put them into law can lead to confusion or misapplication, things like that. This is an example of something where when an entrepreneur in our community is seeking to receive the proper licensure to operate a sidewalk cart or a street vendor business lawfully, then they through that process are working with our business licensing staff. They are working with our staff in the health department, and there is so many opportunities through that process for there to be abundant clarity that an awning is not a requirement, but is something that if they are choosing to have one, has minimum requirements. So I think that the concern Councilmember Cashman brought up around misleading people, I think that's perhaps a fair way to describe it, that they must have an awning. There are a couple of controls in place already, I think, to prevent that from happening. And I would agree that generally speaking, having some guidance when in cases like this is helpful in making sure that we are contributing to compliance with our food code as well. So thank you.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you. I mean, I see value in either way, frankly, right? I know that this amendment was brought forward because there was a requirement that it couldn't overhang more than 12 inches in any direction, and we did not want to have that prescriptive measure there. So food vendors who do exist want 18 inches or longer to be prohibited by that. I see the value in having some sort of guidance, but I also can understand striking the language if this feels extra prohibitive. But I'm not the author of this specific amendment. I will kind of let Councilmember Chavez, as a co-author on this ordinance, speak to it, and then maybe we can come to a resolution on how we want to conclude this part of it.
Councilmember Chavez, do you want to speak to it?
Yeah, thank you, Council President Payne. I think for now, I think it's fine that we just move forward with this amendment, have some guidance, and if we see it becomes an issue, we can always make a quick change amendment to address those issues that we see. I would like to have more time to work with our staff to figure out if there's more concerns that have arisen from this conversation, but I don't want to delay the ordinance because we really want to get ahead of the summer months so our vendors can get out on the street and sell the food and do the work that they want to do, right? So I would just recommend that we pass this amendment that was drafted by the City Attorney's Office, City Attorney Anderson. And if we see that it becomes an issue and it's actually being prohibitive, because the goal with this is we want to be more expansive. We don't want to create more barriers to our vendors. But if it does that accidentally, then we can always just make a quick change if we see it being prohibitive. So I would just say we pass this, and then we'll work with our vendors, we'll work with Health Department staff, CPED, and see if there needs to be a change in a couple weeks. But that's just my advice.
Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, President Payne. I'll just say, I have had removing barriers focus groups with downtown businesses, and we're working on the liquor licensing procedures right now to remove barriers to getting a liquor license for example, Tropico, this Colombian cocktail bar that just opened in the Warehouse District. It took them so long to get their liquor license, exorbitant amount of time, because when they read the liquor license code and procedures, they thought, I have to do every single one of these things. I have to comply with every single one of these things in order to be legal. And so when we make the regulations so extensive, we don't know how many people that's turning off or how many barriers that's creating, especially for an immigrant business who wants to be very diligent in complying with the laws. So from my perspective, less is more. Let's try to streamline and be as efficient as possible in our laws to not create an exorbitant amount of work, paperwork and bureaucracy for entrepreneurs in our community to get through just to be legal in the city. So that is my perspective and what I hope we can move towards. And, if this amendment does pass, I'll just ask Councilmember Chavez to just survey the people who are applying for this and ask them, was that confusing to you? And then come back and potentially strike it.
Okay. With that, I see no one else left in queue. So on the Chavez motion, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Viton.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins. Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
No.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes and 1 nay.
That amendment carries, and we will take up the ordinance as amended. Is there any discussion here, Councilmember Ellison? No. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
No, what we want is it's not working for us here.
Oh. All right, Councilmember Ellison.
It doesn't let me get on cue.
Thank you. If real briefly, if I could, I forgot to speak on an item for the main motion. I don't have any changes that I want to make, but if my colleagues would indulge me, just like being slightly out of order, real quick. I wanted to speak on item number 10, which is passage of a resolution accepting funds from the Midwest Arts Conservation Center for the city's public art. Oh, I'm being told to time
Let's
out.
finish number 4 first, right?
Okay.
Let's finish number 4
Okay.
because there are some people who apparently are having trouble with speaker management and do want to speak on the main motion. I'm sorry.
I will wait.
We'll get back to you before we move on to the next report, Councilmember Ellison. Councilmember Osman.
I have Councilmember Chavez and Chowdhury go first.
Councilmember Chavez.
Thanks, Council President Payne. I guess in regards to the amendment about like the umbrellas, I think part of the reason we brought the amendment was because there is food code laws that says carts must provide protection during adverse weather by its construction or location. Food activities must cease if protection fails. I think part of us putting that regulation in place was to make sure that at least vendors know what kind of protection would be needed to make sure that they can pass that inspection and get that permit and at least help them get prepared for when they want to get a food cart. So that was part of it. But as Councilmember Cashman's points, I do want to make sure that Councilmember Chowdhury and I are committed to working with our street vendors, making sure that if it is a prohibitive part of the ordinance, that we can make changes, and we would be more than happy to do so. But we just wanted to add some guidance to make it a little bit less complicated for our street vendors. Okay, now I want to talk on the ordinance. Colleagues, Councilmember Chowdhury and I are very excited to bring forward the Sidewalk, Food Cart, and Street Vending Program Ordinance. This ordinance itself would increase locations per license to 1 cart, 1 license, and up to 3 approved locations. It expands and increases access by allowing this program to exist in the citywide goods and services corridors. This will help entrepreneurs operate across our city. This was feedback that we heard very loud and clear from our street vendors, as this ordinance previously made it more difficult to get into compliance. The language also ensures that all sites must meet ADA compliance standards, which is really important to our community. For over a year now, we have been working to support these entrepreneurs, hearing their stories, their goals, and ways that we can support them. We also meet on a bi-weekly basis on Sunday mornings. Many of them speak on how this is the only job that they have access to, how it helps them keep a roof over their heads, food for their family, and helps address mental health, and helping them stay afloat during these challenging times. These are our constituents who have come to City Hall asking us to be helpful and helping them achieve their dreams and their realities that they're facing. And honestly, through these bi-weekly meetings on Sunday mornings, these people have become my family. It's no surprise that we are living in some dark times in this country. We have a president that is making his mission to demonize our immigrant community, and it's more important now than ever to support our community, to do everything that we can at the local level to protect our most marginalized community members. I believe that this ordinance is going to help build bridges and tear down these walls that people are putting on our community. And not only is this ordinance the right thing to do, but it is going to help meet a gap that is impacting our community tremendously. Many of our immigrant residents are beginning to lose their jobs through this federal administration, and this ordinance can help keep some of our residents afloat. We also know that this means all residents will benefit from this ordinance, even current entrepreneurs operating across our city. I wanted to give a big shout out to Amy from the Ward 12 office and Yvonne from the Ward 9 office, who led the charge in our offices for these changes in coordination with the community. I am thankful to Brett, Amy Lingo, Cindy, Mariano Espinosa, and Michelle Rivera, who built strong relationships with our community, along with staff from NCR, CPET, OIRA, the CAO's office, and all the community's work on this ordinance. This ordinance is a great example of the work that we can do in the city enterprise when we work together to solve some of the most difficult issues impacting our community. We even met with staff on a bi-weekly basis, oftentimes struggling to address this issue head on, but we worked really closely together to get to the point that we are getting to today. And I'm very proud to have worked with our colleagues and our city staff on this. But most importantly, I want to thank our street entrepreneurs who are here today in the crowd, who never gave up. Jovita and Kay from the Minnesota Immigrant Movement, along with William and Mirak, and all our activists and community members that are here today. I think that this is an example of the work that we can do when we work with the community and the city together. This ordinance is a pretty big deal, but we still have a lot more work to do. We need to ensure that the RFP that we funded in late December is successful, that it supports these entrepreneurs getting into compliance and getting them into a pathway to get these permits, because that is what we want our community members to get access to, and that we have an equitable and affordable fee system that isn't going to make it hard for these vendors to get these licenses. I'm excited that these food carts are going to come all over our city to show the cultural food that we have in the city and making sure that more people have access to this delicious food. Y les quiero decir muchas gracias a nuestra comunidad por venir hoy aquí. Nosotros, como yo y Councilmember Chowdhury, estamos apoyando a ustedes, también las personas que están aquí. Entonces, muchas gracias, los quiero mucho y gracias por todo su trabajo, por estar aquí. Thank you.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Is it okay if I go ahead? All right. Thank you so much, Mr. President. First of all, I think Councilmember Chavez did a beautiful job of kind of sharing our concluding remarks after, I would say, nearly 2 years of work, right? Councilmember Chavez, he took this up in his first term in office, and I was very lucky to be working as his policy aide and seeing how he wanted to be a problem solver on this, and felt really proud to join him in this effort as a council member. What this ordinance reflects is saying that we don't need to just rely on enforcement, citations, and this type of path when we can make changes as a city administration that is culturally competent, that thinks about the communities at the center of an issue. And for that, we have a huge community of sidewalk street vendors, and then a huge community of sidewalk street vendors who are newer to the city of Minneapolis and have found this to be a home where they can build a business, become entrepreneurs, take care of their families, take care of their kids, give something to our city despite challenges economically, despite feeling under threat by law enforcement, federal level, and being scared. Having people of all different cultural backgrounds, different abilities, do this work. And it's been really an honor to be able to work with our food vendor community. It's been an honor to work with our city staff and kind of have this work group together where we were really coming to the table and working out the different issues that we were seeing. I thought we were having some of the best of what the legislative side and the administrative side can do to make a change for our community. And so I really look forward to this as a first big step to helping our local food vendors not only come into compliance, but begin their work as entrepreneurs in our city, be successful and thriving. There is so much work that's still ahead. I know our city staff knows that. I know that Councilmember Chavez and the policy aides in our office, Amy and Yvonne, know that, and we're committed to this work. And we'll also continue to work with our park board and our schools to make sure that this is something that just continues to add to the city of Minneapolis. And in this moment in time in our country, this is a glimmer of what we can be, right? How we can have progress as a way of resisting everything that's coming down and attacking the values of our community. We're standing up today and saying, no, we're going to keep on raising up that our immigrant community members matter. All of our community members deserve to have a city that cares for them and says that this is a welcoming place.
Councilmember Osman.
Thank you, Council President. I really want to thank Councilmember Chavez, who has championed this work, and also Councilmember Chowdhury, who has worked so hard to make this a reality. As someone immigrant, I really happy to see you organizing and coming here. We want to tell you that you belong here, we belong here, and Minnesota is lucky, Minneapolis is lucky to have you. They don't have to travel across the ocean to taste a wonderful food that immigrant communities continue to offer. I know street food is a worldwide phenomenon. Everywhere you go in the world, you will see carts. You will enjoy that. So we're very lucky to see having this ordinance effective that will work and respect communities that have a different background than Minnesota natives. And, I'm excited. I can't wait to share with the community, and this would not happen without you. And I really want to thank Minnesota Immigrant Movement and all of you to continue organize, to continue to talk to your council members who continue to represent. And I want to lastly thank CPED staff who had welcomed the staff. We work with them, and they guide us to make this happen. Safer, healthier way of selling foods in city of Minneapolis. So thank you, Councilmember Chavez.
Councilmember Vita.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Chavez and Councilmember Chowdhury for this. I think this is a really good step forward. I've gotten lots of feedback from Northside street vendors, licensed Northside street vendors, who are really excited about the changes. There has been a lot of confusion, though. I'm grateful for city staff who gave me and my staff and Councilmember Palmisano a last-minute briefing yesterday. There's been a lot of engagement because, as you all have stated, this culturally, this is the way that some folks from our communities make a living, and they have these licensed food carts and they're licensed food vendors, and they're out on the streets of our communities and they're selling food. And I was assured by staff that there will be an education component to this, because a lot of the confusion that I was, a lot of the things that I was hearing back from folks is anything changing from being licensed to unlicensed? Can anyone start to sell food? Is there, this is a pretty territorial kind of business too. Like, where can people come and sell where I'm selling, and what times can I sell? So I think there's a lot of education to be done on this. I think that I think you all have done a good job at enhancing the current policy, but I think someone used the word misleading earlier. I want to make sure that as we move forward and as this is enhanced, that there is no misleading of what can and can't happen with the changes that are being made. And I think the biggest one is that we're not changing the food code. Right? Like, that is a state level policy, and there's no changes to the food code, but there are changes to how you can vend in the city, where you can vend, and what time you can be a vendor. And as I started out saying, I am definitely a consumer of the licensed businesses who are selling food on the streets of North Minneapolis or downtown or Lake Street or wherever I am. So I welcome all of you. I love a good tamale from the South Side, So I'll see you a few feet away from a park, I'm sure, but happy and welcome you bringing those cultural experiences to our communities. And again, thank you to the authors for getting this done.
Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, President Payne. I asked about this in the Biz Committee when we were talking about this last week, but just wanted to reiterate that, this is not applying to parks, right? So vending is for the public spaces, but there is a city-owned public space downtown that's PV Plaza right along Nicollet Mall, and so just wanted to reiterate the clarification from staff that PV Plaza is a city-owned public space, so the vending would be allowed there, and I would love to see you in PV Plaza this summer because it's a really great gathering place at the heart of the city on Nicollet Mall. And thank you so much to the authors for working on this. It's just a really great step forward for Minneapolis.
Seeing no one else in queue, I will ask the clerk to call the roll on the ordinance as amended.
Councilmember Viton.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainbow.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and that ordinance is adopted. Thank you all for being here. All right, our next report is from our Climate and Infrastructure Committee, which will be...
Council President.
Oh, sorry, I totally forgot. Councilmember Ellison.
Totally good. I meant to make a comment about this during the committee report and just forgot to, so thank you guys for indulging me here. But I just, Item 10 in the report is the passage of a resolution accepting funds from the Midwest Arts Conservation Center for the city's public art collection. I just always think, we sometimes can drive around the city. We see all the beautiful public art that our department maintains, and sometimes we can take it for granted, and sometimes we don't even realize that if Mary Altman and her team, Talia Moorman, and obviously Director Ben Johnson, if they didn't maintain this work, it would rust, it would rot, it would fall apart, right? We have our staff take tremendous steps to make sure that we can preserve our collections, especially the collections that are existing out there in the world. And obviously, we want to see that grow. We want to see public art grow, and often it costs more money sometimes to maintain a piece of art that exists in a park, that exists in a sculpture garden over its lifetime than the original piece itself cost. And so that work is really difficult. That work is really tedious, and yet we've got tremendous teams. And so just wanted to continue to shout out Ben Johnson, Mary Altman, Talia Moorman on the work that they do, because I know that sometimes it can fly under the radar and go underappreciated. So thanks to them, and that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Councilmember Ellison. All right, now the next report is from our Climate and Infrastructure Committee, which will be presented by that committee's chair, Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Climate and Infrastructure Committee is bringing forward 8 items. Item 1 is project approval of the new Nicollet Ave construction. Item 2 is project designation and setting a public hearing for the 2025 concrete pavement rehabilitation program. Item 3 is concurring with the city engineer's variance request for the reconstruction of the Cedar Lake Road Bridge over the BNSF Railroad. Item 4 is requesting MnDOT to make additions and removals to the municipal state aid system within the city of Minneapolis. Item 5 is authorizing a pipeline license agreement with the BNSF Railway Company on 22nd Avenue North between 2nd Street North and West River Road. Item 6 is passage of a resolution expressing support for MnDOT's University Avenue and 4th Street Southeast reconstruction project. Item 7 is authorizing construction of a regional stormwater treatment system at the Upper Harbor Terminal. Item 8 is accepting a grant for community geothermal development. And I will move approval of all 8 items.
Councilmember Cashman has moved approval of the committee's report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Viton.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainbow.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and the report is adopted. The final report is from the Committee of the Whole, which will be presented by that committee's chair, Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee of the Whole is bringing forward 3 items. Item number 1 is passage of a resolution related to the execution of documents related to federally funded grants. Item number 2 is the passage of an ordinance related to council staff and the policy, research, and oversight functions. Lastly, item number 3 is the passage of a resolution acknowledging the need for responsive water safety and drowning prevention for children with autism. With that, I'll move approval of these items.
Councilmember Chavez has moved approval of the committee's report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Viton.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and the report is adopted, and that completes the reports of our standing committees. The next order of business is notice of ordinance introductions. We have 2 notices today. First, council members Cashman, Rainville, and Wansley give notice of intent to introduce at the next meeting the subject matter of an ordinance amending the Planning and Development Code, adding a new chapter 425A to establish the Minneapolis Tourism Improvement District and providing for its administration and operation as authorized by state statute. Second, Councilmember Chavez gives notice of intent to introduce at the next meeting the subject matter of an ordinance amending the Land Subdivision Code to modify the definition of affordable housing units to address units financed in whole or part by a tribe or tribal entity. Are there any questions on these notices? Seeing none, those notices are hereby given and no further action is required at this time. The next order of business is the introduction and referral calendar. Pursuant to notice, Councilmember Wansley moves to introduce the subject matter of an ordinance amending Appendix J of the Code of Ordinances for first reading and referral to the Public Health and Safety Committee, adding fees related to city-owned resources referenced in Title IX. May I have a motion to approve this introduction?
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion? The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Viton.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries. And the next order of business is resolutions. Today we have 4 honorary resolutions as presented at the beginning of the meeting. A 5th presentation from Councilmember Osmond was adopted as part of the Committee of the Whole report. Are there any questions or comments from council members? May I have a motion to adopt those resolutions?
So moved.
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Viton.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and those resolutions are adopted. Our next order of business is announcements. Are there any announcements from council members? Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, President Payne. I just wanted to quickly acknowledge that next Tuesday, April 22nd, is Earth Day, which was a holiday or, an event that we have been recognizing since 1970. And since that movement in 1970 has led to some really landmark legislation federally, like the Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, creation of the Environmental Protection Agency. And of course, we continue to see those environmental protections be rolled back by Trump. And I'm really happy that the city of Minneapolis has just leaned in so much to pick up the slack on creating a healthy environment for everyone who lives here. And a second announcement that I would like to make is just asking us to take a brief moment of silence for a couple of really important Ward 7 community members who did pass away last week. One being David Burley, who was the co-owner of the Lowry restaurant with Stephanie Shimp. He was hit by a drunk driver in a motorcycle crash, and it's just really devastating for his family. And secondly is Ray Harris, who had an incredibly long and fruitful life. He was the landmark architect and developer who built Orchestra Hall, Greenway Gables, 7 Points in Uptown, and so many other important spaces throughout the city. And I remember the last time speaking with him, he just had this incredibly future-facing vision for Hennepin Avenue, where pedestrians could stroll amongst the trees with solar panel light fixtures and an free electric transportation option to move us through Uptown. And I just really want to honor his vision for our city and the way that he kept pursuing such amazing ideas for Minneapolis, even at the age of 96. So rest in peace to both David and Ray, and thank you for taking a brief moment of silence with me. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilmember Osman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, I was going to give a shout out to my fellow Africans that were watching us do our business here. I went out there to talk to them. They're from Mali, Burkina Faso, Ghana, and 4 different countries, and came all the way here to visit and see how we do democracy. And that was really beautiful to experience that. But I wish there was an opportunity for them to interact, but they had to leave. Their bus was here. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else in queue, with that, we've completed our business for today with nothing further to come before the council, and without objection, this meeting is hereby adjourned.